Hello, you beautiful bastards are welcome to my so-called show. After Die Another Day got hammered, it was looking like Bond's days were numbered. So it was back to the drawing board, and where better to go than by going back to the books, while also ripping off Jason Bourne.
Logical.
And to make things easier, the legal bullshit Eon had with Casino Royale was done with, and dear old Babs and Mikey saw this as a good opportunity to finally do a big screen adaptation of Casino Royale properly. They replaced Brosnan with Daniel Craig, a choice that was controversial at the time and took Bond back to the beginning. But was the choice to start Bond from scratch a gamble that paid off? Well, horse-riding babes and period eye-leaking gentlemen, this is Casino Royale. Released in November 2006, Casino Royale sees James Bond, played this time by Daniel Craig, newly promoted to 00 status, who sets out to investigate a terrorist plot involving a very sinister-looking bloke called Le Chiffre, played by the always awesome Mads Mikkelsen, whose little gamble with his investors' money goes tits up thanks to Bond. And these are not the type of people who will tolerate people who piss about with their money. Le Chiffre, now desperate, decides to host a tournament at the Casino Royale in the hopes he can win back the money he lost and more.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
But to make things even more awkward, James Bond is one of the guys taking him on in the tournament. Bum bum bum! Bond is joined by the enigmatic yet sultry Vesper, played by top MILF Evergreen, who is financing Bond's stake, leaving Bond with no choice to win, because if he loses, MI6 will have actually financed terrorism. I don't know, don't they do that all the time? Casino Royale was a return to grittier form for the tux-wearing spy, bringing back the realism last seen from Russia with Love, ditching the bad CGI for actual practical stunts, and making the danger Bond faced seem real and intense again. It was a risk doing a Bond origin story, and the casting of Daniel Craig didn't really go down well after the numerous reports that made him out to be, well, for lack of a better word,
You're a fucking pussy.
But believe it or not, I was actually one of the few that was actually okay with Craig being cast as Bond. After seeing him a couple of years previous in Layer Cake, the first thing I thought was, he could be a good James Bond. And despite my problems with his final 2 installments, well, 3 of his installments during his tenure, I do think he was good in the role, and this is still his best performance as the debonair spy. He totally sells the part as a ruthless killer.
The second is... Yes. Considerably.
And I liked how the film went out of its way to flesh out this character more and humanise him more, before they tried to really flesh him out to the point where I was getting fed up of them trying to flesh him out. But I do still give credit for them trying something different, especially with the character, and his introduction perfectly establishes what a cold-blooded bastard he is, cutting back and forth between aggressive, unstoppable brawler to an uncompromising, cool and reserved, efficient killer.
Yes. Considerably.
This Bond took no prisoners. Not literally. He guns down the suspect he was supposed to have taken in as a prisoner. He's more reckless, arrogant, but never to the point where he's incompetent. He still manages to adapt, and always manages to think on his feet, even if his methods are a bit crude. Also, Craig seems to do pretty well with the humour without needing to say anything.
I believe it is something very special what we see here. This is entertainment.
But the movie doesn't forget to establish his ego is also a flaw. He almost causes an international disaster, causes M to question his trust. He almost gets bankrupt against Le Chiffre, but it does add to his development. He does learn. He shows he does have some humility. He does evolve. Judi Dench returns as M, which is weird since this is a reboot, but fuck it, she's still great in this. And I like how the dynamic between her and Bond is more different. She's more skeptical of him after his shoot first, ask questions never escapade.
I knew it was too early to promote you.
Well, I understand double O's have a very short life expectancy, so your mistake will be short-lived.
And she's right too. She put her faith in him and he almost caused an international disaster, but she does remain professional. She does kind of mentor him a little, and she definitely does not let him off easy.
Bond, this may be too much for a blunt instrument to understand, but arrogance and self-awareness seldom go hand in hand.
So you want me to be half monk, half hitman?
Any thug can kill. I want you to take your ego out of the equation and to judge the situation dispassionately.
But she also shows hints she still has faith in him despite his reckless nature.
You can stop pretending. You knew I wouldn't let this drop, didn't you?
Well, I knew you were you.
Katerina Marino is absolutely gorgeous, and for a short screen time smoulders, but it's evergreen as Vesper, who truly steals the show. She's one of my favourite Bond girls and shows to be one of the more smarter, more enigmatic Bond girls. And I love their first interaction, with Bond laying on the charm and her not falling for it, while also calling him out on his bullshit. Yet it never comes across as spiteful. It's kind of cute seeing these two give each other shit. The back and forth is witty. It kind of feels like something Billy Wilder would have written back in the day.
We've been involved for quite a while. Hence the shared suite.
But my family is strict Roman Catholic, so for appearance's sake, it'll be a 2-bedroom suite.
I do hate it when religion comes between us.
Religion and a securely locked door. Am I going to have a problem with you, Bond?
No, don't worry. You're not my type.
Smart.
Single.
They both have great chemistry, and when she shows a vulnerability, you can see Bond starting to develop feelings towards her, and it's understandable. She's not another woman who falls for the same tricks he pulls. She has a brain, but she also shows there's a fragility to her. And even she starts to fall for him when he's willing not to compromise under torture of losing his fucking balls.
My groin!
Which makes her betrayal all the more tragic, especially when it leads to her suicide. And Christ, the look on her face when she drowns herself is one of the more haunting moments I've seen on screen. It's a moment that manages to be one of the more heartbreaking moments in a Bond movie since Tracy's death. And Craig sells every emotion as he tries and fails to save her. The desperation, the hope, the anger, and finally seeing the woman he loves is no more. Mads Mikkelsen takes over the villain duties, and man, it's obviously why this guy keeps getting work. The pure charisma he displays with just a stare, that cold look in his eyes is all he needs to let people know he means business. He looks like the type of guy who can look at you and stare into your soul. He doesn't need to scream or throw a tantrum. In fact, it's not until he's left in a desperate situation where he shows just how ruthless he can truly be. And the thing is, he's not even a big villain. He's a small fish who could be used as an asset and proves to be a great foe who can match wits with Bond.
You changed your shirt, Mr. Bond. I hope our little game isn't causing you to perspire.
A little. But I won't consider myself to be in trouble until I start weeping blood.
Which leads to me mentioning the best part of the film, the tournament. It's just people sitting around a table, yet it's suspenseful because you know what's at stake. It also contrasts Bond's character development to realising his arrogance needs to be reeled in after he nearly loses, while the Chief resorts to dirty tricks and eventually more violent methods when he is at his most desperate.
Relax, will you? For crying out, what's getting to you? I'm breaking your balls a little bit, that's all.
But it still remembers to add more stakes during the tournaments, like Le Chiffre's employers warning him what happens if he fails. Le Chiffre poisoning Bond, which pretty much had me worried Bond might not make it. Thankfully he is saved, and what does he do? He buttons up his tux and heads back to a tournament, in delivering not one but two moments that made me laugh.
We're not seriously going back there.
I wouldn't dream of it. I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
Giancarlo Gianni is very charming as Mathis and does add some much needed levity.
Never die. Never die,
being dead doesn't mean one can't still be helpful.
Felix Leiter makes his first appearance in a Bond movie since,
Jesus.
And this time he's played by Jeffrey Wright. And he seems to play him more as a normal guy, which I thought brought a new dynamic to the relationship with Felix's more average Joe as a contrast to Bond's suaveness. And the action is pretty intense with an adrenaline-pumping parkour chase, and it might be one of the best chases in a Bond film. And it's without a car. And what makes it even more awesome? Daniel Craig did pretty much a lot of the stunts himself, despite suffering from pretty bad vertigo. And this could have been done in a way that felt out of character for Bond, but no, they highlight the fact that the guy he's pursuing is the parkour expert, while Bond is a bit more clumsy, less agile. He's more of a guy not willing to back down and keep going, and what he lacks in crane hopping and wall climbing, he makes up for in fisticuffs. And man, the fight scenes might be the best I've seen in a Bond movie. It's like they watched the train fighting from Russia with Love, the fight between Bond and Alec Trevelyan, the Bourne movies, and thought, let's do something like these three and combine them. With Bond going full-on beast mode using whatever he can in his environment. I remember that great stunt in The Man with the Golden Gun that was ruined by that fucking dumb slide whistle. Well, thank God they didn't do the same here.
Well, that is going to make one hell of a story.
And yes, it was done for real. It rolled over 8 times and, man, it's glorious to watch. David Earle once again excels with the score. And yeah, I've already hinted twice at the Chief's ball busting, so it has to be mentioned. The torture scene might be one of the most brutal moments ever put in a Bond film. Seriously, how the fuck they got away with this is a miracle. It's after Bond wins the tournament. The Chief resorts to capturing both Bond and Vesper, with Vesper taken to be tortured in another room while Bond is stripped naked, tied to a chair, with the bottom cut out, so his balls can hang out free and breezy, and is whipped in the nuts by a knotted rope. It is brutal, visceral, even when you look away, hearing it is still... And it's not just Bond being tortured, it's him being humiliated, broken, stripped of his masculinity and his humanity. And like I mentioned before, he still doesn't compromise and gives Le Chiffre one of the best fuck you lines ever uttered in a Bond movie.
Now the whole world's gonna know that you don't scratch your fucking balls.
But just like License to Kill, Casino Royale does lack the sense of fun that we look for in a Bond movie, and tries too hard to turn him into Jason Bourne, which is understandable as Bourne's more grounded assassin was winning audiences at the time. Daniel Craig also overdoes the pouting way too much, and just like Dalton, I don't think he's a very convincing ladies' man. The romantic scenes with Vesper he handles well, but every time I saw him trying to be a ladies' man, I couldn't help but feeling Brosnan could have done it better. And while I love the late Chris Cornell, I'm not the biggest fan of You Know My Name, at least as a Bond theme. As a song, it's cool, and while I like the idea of the casino aesthetic in the title sequence, it looks really cheap, like it's opening for a really low-budgeted TV show, and that should not be the case for a Bond title sequence. But that said, Casino Royale was a return to form after the CGI dullfest of Die Another Day, going back to his grittier roots while also improving on parts of the original novel. And while starting off from scratch was a risk, it was a gamble that certainly paid off. And that was Casino Royale. Next up, Skyfall. Oh yeah, that exists. Okay, next up, Quantum of Solace. For fuck's sake.